Greetings, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Dreamscapes. Today we have guest dreamer Malena Dalinaros from Stockholm, Sweden. You know I love to talk to an international audience, and we're going to get right back. Oh, she is a author and coach. You can find her at malenadalinaros.com, link in the description. Right back to her in 2 seconds. For my part, would you kindly like, share, subscribe, tell your friends? Always need more volunteer dreamers from around the world. I will talk to you no matter where you are. If you speak English, I'm sorry, that's the only language I know, so we got to do it that way. If you'd like to support my work, you may do so by purchasing one of 17 currently available works of historical dream literature. I think I'm going to try something new this time, and I'm going to remember to do this. I've been plugging book 17 for the longest time. Let's go back and cycle through the other ones. Book 1, what was the first book I released back in, I think it was early 2020. It was called, what was it called? I wasn't prepared for this. This was entirely off the cuff. It is The Court of Curiosity, which is the letter of a 17th century French knight to a noblewoman explaining to her his understanding of dream interpretation at the time with what they knew. Fascinating historical work. I love that it is not, shall we say, politically correct for the modern audience, because this is what they believed in the 1700s and they spoke like it. So expect to get a genuine historical artifact, lovingly reproduced, recreated, and enhanced, if I may say so myself. Where to go from there? Also, if you'd head on over to BenjaminTheDreamWizard.com, that's where you can find the books. Also downloadable MP3 versions of this very podcast, audio only, that you can take with you wherever you wander, with or without Wi-Fi. And if you'd head on over to BenjaminTheDreamWizard.locals.com, building a community there. It's free to join, attached to my Rumble account. That's enough out of me. Back to Malena. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for having me here.
Those intros get longer and longer, and the guest just has to kind of stare at the camera and but just so you know, while that was happening, I put up graphics so no one's just staring at you being bored. Anyway, and we've got a cat. We're going to let the cat sleep on the notes. I don't think I'm going to need to take any notes, because in the very beginning of the show, I just talk to people and say, what's up with being an author and a coach? And you mentioned a website. So you, as you were saying, I'll give you a little bit of a intro from what you've said. You said you're working on a book, but then in that process, you thought about the structure of writing itself and the process of writing a book and publishing a book. And that brought you to the idea of creating a website that was geared towards that process. And maybe you can say a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So I'm writing a book about charisma, and this book will benefit from readers, or rather potential readers, having a chance to come with their input, so that I can incorporate that input and those wishes, if you wish, into the book. Now, while I'm still writing it, while there is still a possibility to make those adjustments, so that this book not only becomes the book of my dreams, but also the book of the dreams of my potential readers. And that way, it feels for me that I'm making it more valuable and more meaningful.
Mm-hmm. So the general subject matter of the book is the concept of charisma?
Yes, it is both the concept, the different theoretical grounds that I've taken from, for example, psychology, rhetoric. I also, like you, have a background in psychology. And then I was teaching interpersonal relationships, conversation techniques, witness interrogation, things like that, to military professionals. And when I was doing that, I noticed how important things such as rapport and presence, authenticity, and genuine connection, how important these things are to actually establish what you need to build the kind of relationships that are the most beneficial to cooperate in those kinds of environments and situations. And charisma plays a really big part in that. So this is something I've probably been fascinated in all my life, but I became more and more aware of it and been able to put words on everything as my journey has progressed, and especially through those experiences.
Yeah, definitely. That's in my brain loves a puzzle like that, which is why I kind of do the dream thing. It's like, okay, so we have a gut sense of, oh, that guy's got charisma. Okay, but what is that? What am I really looking at here? What is it that he's actually doing? And so, just speaking of, then you got to, okay, define what is charisma, and then what are the behavioral traits, and what are the emotions associated with it on both ends of the communication process. And my brain goes to...
So that's what makes it so interesting. Mm-hmm. I would love to hear your interpretation before I say the definition that I've chosen to work on.
Sure. Well, I don't know that I'm going to offer one specifically, but I just to share my experience of it. Like, I think... So I call myself a wizard, and I have a very specific meaning to that. It's like, I don't throw fireballs D&D style. That's not what it's all about. But the archetype of the wizard, the... older, wiser. I mean, that's where we get wizard from wisdom. That idea. You speak magic words. Maybe you've got some true information or recommendations or perspective to share. You got maybe some gray hairs because you've been around for a while. You've seen some things. You can kind of predict the future because you understand cause and effect. And there's all kinds of things like where, and then that became. Incorporated into fantasy of like, well, let's go the next step and make it just a fantastical type of creature that, and then we get Gandalf and the Harry Potter series and all this different stuff. And I love playing with that. So that's what I mean by wizard. But I'm also trying to break down, okay, what are the different types of wizards? Like, so I'm a dream wizard, and that's me saying my wizardry is pretty much restricted to this specialty. You start asking me things about mechanical engineering, rocket science, heart surgery. I don't know about any of that stuff. So there are some wizards all over the place. I think if you know where to look, people are really good at what they do, and it's something I aspire to. Look at me, let's say, and like me, we're really good at what they do. But there's so all of that to say, there's a concept I'm working with. I'm trying to break down the different kinds of wizards, and one that I landed on solidly was the idea of a necromancer. And what does a necromancer do? They like raise the bodies of the dead to make them their unwilling minions, and that conceptually can also be like a cult leader with charisma who treats other people like they are empty vessels for his own will to be enacted in the world. But then there's other types in my estimation. And this is all another book I'm working on. Speaking of books, I've got like 6 of them up in here that might happen, might not. We'll see. A Wizard's Guide to Wizards. Yeah, that kind of thing. I'm talking a lot, but getting down to the point, there's also people who say, so necromancer would be almost exclusively an evil wizard. I mean, there's good and evil. There's it's a neutral power. You can, like a gun, you can use it to murder or defend life. But there's also, say, illusionists in classic D&D style, and I would think of those as like actors. They're very good at making it appear that they are someone else doing something that never happened, and then we appreciate that. Great actors, There's and a lot of that would have to do with charisma. And there was another one. It was illusionists and. Maybe that's what I was just trying to get around to. Is that it? So it's wrapped up in those ideas, and charisma works, for good or ill. Would be the necromancer or the illusionist. We would say it's good when it's put to positive use, and bad, of course, when it's put to negative use to control other people. So I'll stop there, and you have your comments. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm so fascinated with your interpretations and those examples. So necromancer, I would probably. Also agree with you about the cult leader being in more of like that sort of category. And another one that I thought of as maybe not an evil use of charisma, but just an amateur use of charisma would be the narcissistic seduction, pickup artist, red pill kind of thing. Because that simply means that a person thinks he or she needs to get down to the level of tricks and fooling others and trying to lure others in with these techniques. And that's what they need to be able to have these people in their lives and have their respect and admiration and maybe love and loyalty. and that without all of this use of manipulation, they would not get those things, and they would not have these people in their lives. And with the charisma that I want to encourage in people is the charisma where they are connected to life itself, and where they are mimicking natural states of life, what it means to be alive, and mirror what life is and does and how it acts. And that being said, it means that these are people who choose to live in expansion. They go after their natural joys, curiosities, and passions, so that those things helps them to grow and evolve into the next levels of life and life expression. They also express themselves, and they express the authentic and true versions of themselves, not some manufactured, artificial version of them, because they think that that is what society expects of them, but actually who they want to be. And the importance of this lies in that is how we also attract the people we really want to have in our lives. And we filter out the people who we do not want to have in our lives. So through this process, we are able to create genuine and loving communities, rather than luring people into thinking that they love something that is actually just an image that can be, come to the surface of being false at any moment.
Yeah.
Here you are true. Here everybody is true in this community because they genuinely care and love each other. So that is more the charisma that I want to encourage and that I'm leaning towards. But of course, like you said, this is something that can be used in the way that the person who elevates these qualities within themselves chooses to use it. And here it comes down to personal ethics. If somebody chooses to use it for manipulation, maybe it will work for a while, but soon enough they will realize that that is a sure way of prolonging the time that it's going to take for them to heal whatever injuries and wounds they have that need to be healed. And the sooner they start to become true to themselves and try to find ways to start loving themselves for who they are inside, the sooner they can heal, and the sooner they will find the right people for them.
Definitely, yeah. That's so many great ideas. The first thing that struck me was the idea of that superficial veneer of something good that just kind of papers over nothing very often. It's very thin. It's nothing stable. They just fall right through it if you try and walk on it in a way, in that mental image. But then also the thin veneer that's often put over because it's what people think others want to see, and there's no deeper, like you get beyond that and it's just a mess, or it's ugly underneath there. It's like a very pretty house, but inside everyone's arguing and hurting each other physically or emotionally, and it's like, sure looks nice, and when they go to church on Sunday, they all smile and dress pretty, but then it's just not, and it's that brought to mind also the concept. I think it was Carl Rogers, with the humanist psychologist. He said, there's two things that are required for successful therapy, and maybe not just two, but two very, very basic things. One is genuineness, and the other is unconditional positive regard. So first of all, you just got to be yourself. Don't be fake. I mean, I think there's a pop culture understanding of, that person's fake, and it's understood to be a bad thing. It's like, then there's also how to parse keeping it real with an excuse for being an asshole. Like, I'm just telling the truth. Kind of, but also you're kind of being a dick. There's ways to tell the truth. You could say, damn you ugly. You could say, maybe if you wore a different outfit, it would complement your curves. But I'm trying to be nice. That kind of a thing, Or me, it's, you could say, God, what a fat ass. Ben, it's not healthy to be that size. I know. It's true. One way I'm going to go, you're right. And the other way I'm going to go, block on Twitter, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But then
and charisma and authenticity have so much to do with integrity as well, and dignity. So integrity, when it comes to, keeping it real, are great things, but not if you start sharing things that are too intimate and become too vulnerable to anyone to use your secrets, your deepest dreams and desires against you. You never know. You don't need to assume that you can trust everybody to treat you with respect and respect your dreams, desires, and things that might make you feel vulnerable or truly become vulnerable to somebody to misuse you. You're not obliged to tell anybody anything that you don't feel comfortable sharing. And that is really important to remember when you set out to grow your authenticity or charisma. You are not obliged to be true in a way that makes you feel like you're putting yourself at risk to be used. That is not it. And when it comes to dignity, that's the things you just mentioned. It's not a dignified behavior to be putting others down. That is just a killer of charisma, I would say. And also, it does not put you in a good light. You are going to be much more charismatic when you try to lift others rather than trying to put them down. And it does not have to be like fake positive attitude and toxic positivity. It's not that, because sometimes someone needs to hear something they will not like to hear. But how you say it, just like you said, how you say it will play a really big role in whether it will help the person or if it will put them down so that they feel miserable about themselves. And that is never our goal.
Yeah, for sure. And I was just thinking of the concept of vulnerability, and like it's a yin yang to it. It's a two-edged sword. I mean, it's necessary for true intimacy with a person, and it's dangerous with the wrong person. So it made me think of the idea of like, well, you wouldn't just tell a stranger your password to your bank account because they asked, but you slide that line a little further and you start getting into, there's people, as you were saying, you know, people who are very adept at the magic of manipulation, and you exploiting the natural charisma. And I don't know where I was going with that. I do, but I can't find the words. It's okay. You know what I'm talking about. I think the audience does too.
Yeah.
So they're also very good at, this is where I was going with it, kind of gaslighting or overcoming gut check defenses that we often can't put a name to. We can't explain it. Like a classic manipulation technique kind of in concept is challenging an emotional response as illogical and therefore wrong because you can't explain it, because you can't put it into words, because you can't defend it. Like pushing that onus on you to say, I don't feel comfortable with that. Oh yeah, well, why not? And they're like, well, I can't explain it. Well, then you must be wrong, and I get what I want. That's not a good answer. That's not how any of this works. You're not obligated to give an answer for your gut. You can just walk away at any time. Go ahead.
And if you ever feel like you don't know what to say, something like that, and the best thing you can do is just say, well, now I know your input, and I will think about it, and I will get back to you with an answer when I'm ready. And that is the only boundary you need to state. And if you feel that this person keeps pushing you for an answer, then just repeat that exact phrase again. And then the more times you will need to repeat that, I will get back to you with an answer. I need to think about this. Well, the more times you have said those things, the weirder you should think that person is for pushing you.
Oh, yeah.
So if you only say it once and they accept it, then maybe they were just eager to get a response from you because your response matters to them, and that's just natural human dynamics. They value your response and they're curious to know what you think and what you will choose. So that's fine. But they will accept when you're saying that you're going to think about it and you will return with an answer. They will say fine, and that's the end of that story. But if they keep pushing and pushing and pushing, that should be a gut response, and that should, set off your alert system into some form of protection mode. And it does not mean that you need to shut down completely. It just means that you need to stick to that boundary right then and there and create the conditions for yourself to think about what happened, to really understand what you want, and to think about an answer that you're going to give this person. And you might not be able to have those conditions when you're there with this person who is pushing you and pressing an answer. So you need to remove yourself from that situation so that you get the best possible conditions for yourself. That's how you protect yourself from somebody who is trying to manipulate you.
Absolutely. And getting more comfortable with the idea of not just setting boundaries, but saying, I don't know. I need to think about that. Yeah. And as I've gotten older, that's my pride has become less wrapped up in having all the answers right away. And if someone stumps me, or even if I'm certain of something, I've discussed it before, I've thought about it a long time, and in this moment, I don't have the words. I've gotten more, especially online in different conversations, to saying, I think I've done the best I can to explain that right now. I can't explain it any better. It is what it is. So, I mean, maybe I'll get back to you. Maybe I won't. A lot of this is dealing with strangers and internet hostility and whatnot, because I'm out there making comments and trying to share wisdom like I think I know what I'm talking about. So that's the other thing, too, is having that kind of good sense of humor about it. Well, take this for what it's worth. Look at me. I'm a crazy guy who thinks he's a wizard. Understand who you're dealing with here. And maybe I will say some profound things. Maybe I'll say some stupid things. Maybe I'll say the wrong things. And it's okay.
Yes.
And very definitely.
And maybe we shouldn't take it so seriously. Maybe that's what it is. We're just here. We're just playing around, and we're just making the best of things, trying to learn something, and sometimes trying to convey something that we think we have learned to our best abilities. And that's the best we can do.
I found a lot of people are like that on the internet. What is it? People say, oh, they're just attention seeking or seeking validation, as if that wasn't important. But also, it's not the most important thing. I mean, it's good. You want people to hear what you have to say, and you want to be seen by people and have them go, I like you. You're all right. Well, I think we all need that. I mean, we're not all Jeremiah Johnson living in the woods alone. Who doesn't need anything but his own reflection in an icy pond as he's fishing. Even me, I'm pretty much a hermit. I don't get out of the house. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't go anywhere or do anything because I don't want to. I like to be alone quietly with myself, but I like to talk to people sometimes. I like to talk to people on the internet. I like to talk to people in the interviews. But that's enough for me. Like, after this is done, I'm not going to talk to anyone for a week, except my wife. Just that's it. I just don't need that.
You had enough after dealing with me,
right? And you specifically. Sorry, I'm just keeping it real. but also in these interviews, I want to get to the end of it and have the person I'm talking to. I want to have. Let's see. So I got autism, so charisma is a problem with me. If you find me charming in any way, that's entirely you. I'm an idiot. I'm just some guy who I just say what I think and feel, and some people laugh and think it's funny, and some people think I'm a doofus, and that's okay. But I
think that everything that I've seen of you so far, you're incredibly charismatic.
Oh.
And I think yes, absolutely. I think you have totally found the perfect balance of not taking yourself too seriously, and at the same time, that you know great stuff, and you are totally in your right to share with the world, because it is wisdom. And I think it's awesome that you're calling yourself a wizard. I think it's unique and very intriguing and fun, and of course somebody's who doesn't know who you are will be really fascinated and want to learn more. So I think it's a really great way of putting yourself out there and attracting like-minded people. Probably some haters too, but
just a few.
You just
I say some crazy shit.
To the left, right?
Yeah. And I'll just to be real with you, I'm very uncomfortable with praise. So please stop. Thank you. It's okay. No, for real. I get flushed. I'm like, oh no, I want validation, not praise. Like, there's a difference. I want to get to so this is what I was saying too. I want to get to the end of this with you going, that was a good experience. Maybe I learned something. I had a fun conversation, and specifically with dream stuff, I was able to work with this person well enough to get true answers that help me see myself more clearly. So for me, it's more a matter of respect for my abilities, demonstrated abilities, not titles, not degrees, not expert status, but demonstrated, like a plumber. Did he fix the leak? If we get to the end of the process and I fix the leak, hey, that's validation for me more than anything. But and of course but it's different than wanting to be liked. Like if we got to the end of this and you said, I don't like you at all. I never want to talk to you again, but you did a good job. I can't lie. I'm like, that's almost even better. It's like you didn't find me charismatic at all, but we made it work and got you a good answer. That's almost like people are like, I don't like you, but you did a good job. Wow. That's grudging respect. That's even better. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I talk about myself too much.
Right. Well, I do have this dream finally that I'm really excited to talk about.
Well, that's a natural transition.
I remember when you said you needed a dream to be able to be on this show. When you invited me, I didn't have anything. At first, when you said, like, do you want to come on the show? I was like, but I never remember my dreams. I will get back to you if I dream something, okay? And I did. So now I'm here, and I'm actually really excited to hear your input about this one.
Nice. And that's actually very cool. So number one, I'm like you. I almost never remember my dreams. I almost never wake up even remembering I had a dream and not remembering any of the content. But it's extremely rare that I wake up, remember I had a dream, and enough of the content to analyze it. I have like 5 of those dreams in my entire life, and I remember them all.
Oh, wow.
Still to this day, because those are the only ones. Usually it's like, okay, so I give this example and the audience is probably sick of it, but the typical, if I remember I had a dream at all, it's like this one. Just the snippet is me standing by the open rear passenger door of a white 4-door little sedan type of car, and that's it. Just me stand. Now that is actually enough to analyze in its own way, but it's why am I there? What am I doing? What is the car? Am I going somewhere? What happened next? None of that is in my head. That's just all I woke up with, is that almost static image. But the other side of it is that it's also very common that say a person who dreams all the time or regularly or fairly often will have a dream and say, okay, let's go. Then we book it 2 weeks out. And then the night before we talk, they have another one and they're like, oh, we got to do that. And it's something about knowing this experience is coming. Their brain says, let's make the most of it. Here's something important. And I think that's very true, that dreams in a way self-select for importance. You remember what you need to it. If it sticks with you, it's something you need to look at or take a second look at. But I think everyone dreams constantly all night long. It's kind of like I explain it as the heart beats, the lungs breathe, and the brain thinks. It's always running data, and that's what we're doing in our downtime when we kind of disconnect from the exterior sensations. Is just process that data and continue to. What happened here? What do I think about that? What if this happens? We run ourselves through all these different scenarios. That's enough of my jibber jabber. Let's do the part where I shut up and listen. You tell me your dream, and we'll see what we can make of it. So I'm ready when you are.
Benjamin the Dream Wizard wants to help you pierce the veil of night and shine the light of understanding upon the mystery of dreams. Every episode of his Dreamscapes program features real dreamers gifted with rare insight into their nocturnal visions. New Dreamscapes episodes appear every week on YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, and other video hosting platforms, as well as free audiobooks exploring the psychological principles which inform our dream experience, and much, much more. To join the wizard as a guest, reach out across more than a dozen social media platforms and through the contact page at benjaminthedreamwizard.com, where you will also find the wizard's growing catalog of historical dream literature available on Amazon, documenting the wisdom and wonder of exploration into the world of dreams over the past 2,000 years. That's Benjamin the Dream Wizard on YouTube and at benjaminthedreamwizard.com.
All right. So
She's your boy.
I had it about a couple of months ago, just before I got back to you and said that I have a dream. Like, it was that night, and it was extremely vivid and detailed. And I remember. Well, what I do remember is a lot. So
Okay.
Let's do this.
Yeah, we just started at the beginning and tell it like a story.
Yes, absolutely. So, in the stream, I was at an event where there were a lot of really like friendly people, and I got the sensation that this is a really exclusive, high quality place, like 5-star type of place. And I was there together with Elon Musk. And I was there almost like a spectator and observing this, but I was inside my own body and experiencing this as well. I don't know, or this version of me doesn't know what happened before, or why we're here, or where we're going, nothing like that. I'm just there, but it feels really natural for me to be here. And it feels completely natural that I'm there with Elon Musk, and everybody around me behaves as if it's completely natural, and it's the way it should be, that I'm there and I'm in this setting and I'm there together with him. And we are spending the whole evening in this really nice company, eating great food and having amazing conversations with all of these really interesting people. All of them seem to be some form of, entrepreneur, inventors, very successful people, and who all seem to be very kind to each other as well, and supportive, and very polite and great-mannered in every way. And then the evening progresses, and I'm sensing that I'm having fun, but something is starting to be as a drifting apart from Elon Musk. We started out as this almost like a couple, or I think everyone assumed, and like that was it. We were there like a couple, but then something started to change, and I could not figure out why. I was like, why is he starting to like wanting to avoid me? Why is he backing out? And when it was time to just leave, he sat me in a taxi, and home I went alone. And it was like, okay, that's that. That was what happened. But the dream continues. But it was me. I'm talking with my mother, and I'm showing her on a tablet, like an iPad, I think, or something, and telling her, like, this was my evening yesterday, and I don't understand what went wrong. Everything started out so great, and we had so much fun, and everyone was talking, and, I told her about the evening as it was, and I showed her on the tablet, like, look, here we enter this event, and here we are hanging out with all these people, we are having champagne. Oh, and I'm having more champagne. And more champagne. And too much champagne. It never ends. And I'm starting to behave very inappropriately. Not just, not in a way where I embarrass myself, obviously. Like, not in an obvious way. But in a way where a person who wants to be together with somebody who behaves in a dignified manner and who talks coherently and all of that, well, probably that was what he wanted, but I was starting to, like, I started out on expert level, like I was really representing myself in the best possible way, but as the evening progressed and the champagne kept flowing, I started to, speak incoherently and slur and say weird stuff and just risk embarrassing him. And nobody showed the signs of telling me that I was doing something embarrassing. And they were just too well-mannered for that. They allowed me to just do what I was doing without setting me straight in any way. But I noticed that they were, in a polite way, like stepping aside, making some distance between themselves and me, because I was no longer representing that high level of human interaction that was going on in that space. And when I saw this the morning after in my dream on the tablet, I understood that, oh my God, I had this opportunity. I was in this wonderful setting with one of the people who symbolizes like the epitome of what mankind can do. And I blew it. Either I got too relaxed and celebrated feeling joyful by drinking too much champagne, or I was maybe nervous and tried to calm myself a little bit by drinking too much champagne. So I don't know which one of those it was. And well, I just had this realization together with my mom when I was showing it on this tablet to her. And yes, that was it. After that, I woke up and I remember all of that. And yes, I'm not going to say my own interpretation because I think I want to hear yours. I really want to hear yours first.
Absolutely. Yes. No, that's good. And what we'll do is we'll blend in your understanding of things as we go. That's exactly how it works. There's some people who are like, I had this dream 10 years ago. I've already solved it. And I say, yeah, definitely don't tell me anything. And let me ask all the questions. And usually those are shorter things. And I get to, there's less collaboration on those because they've solved it. Then we start talking about where my suggestions lined up with their understanding. And then usually there's like a few pieces where they go, I never thought of it that way. And if you fit it in there, that gives me a different conclusion or whatnot. So there's so many different ways to approach this. I think I've got one, this is all tangential, but I think I've got one coming up with a guy where that's exactly the case, where he knows literally this dream that he had inspired him to create a system. Like the system itself came to him in a dream, and we're going to talk about that and how his system works. So what I have to do is reverse the order of things a little bit, where usually I talk to someone for 10, 15, 20, an hour, whatever, to set a relaxed mood and just have some fun and learn some things, but also to get a sense of who they are and how they approach problems. And it's all like, I don't have any I'm not categorizing you consciously when we're doing that. All I'm doing is getting a vibe, getting a feel, and it all goes in, and then that informs the dream analysis to some degree. When I talked to him, I realized I was going to have to do a completely different format change. We're going to say, hi, this is my guest. We're going to go straight into the dream because he's going to tell me the dream. We're going to talk about the analysis, and then we'll get into the explanation and his business and how it informed it. Because if he tells me about his business or system ahead of time, well, that's the explanation for the dream. Like, challenge me to figure out what it is first. And I like those stump the wizard, what I call it, those episodes. Like, you already have an answer. Let's see if I can horseshoe or hand grenade it anywhere near what you've already got. Now is the time, CC boy. You gotta move. I need to spread out on the countertop. CC boy. No, he doesn't want to wake up.
He might have some input too.
He's gonna input his claws into my flesh when I try and pick him up, because he just does that. He's oh, look at him. He'll make little bunny arms. Oh, there he go, little bunny arms.
So adorable.
You don't even want to move him, but I gotta do it. Oh, there he goes. He's like, the hell you doing, man? Don't pick me up. I want to rub your belly. Okay. If you just kind of stay over there, that's not so bad. You don't really have to leave. You just got to get out of it. You got to go home, but you can't stay here. That's what they say. Okay, so your actual dream. Let's get into this thing. Get a drink here. So, you're at an event. Did you have a sense of where it was? You said like a hotel reception room or something? Or is that the idea that popped into my head?
It's on land, because I was like, maybe it was a boat. No, it was on land. It was some form of very fancy place. Like, it was beautiful. Maybe it was a hotel reception. Maybe it was some form of, castle or something of that sort. Very high class, very exclusive and beautiful. And I think it was more like maybe not a tropical location, but more as here where I live in Sweden, but summertime, something like that. But I'm not sure that it was in Sweden. It could have been in the United States or anywhere in the world, but not tropical event or location.
Fair enough. Yeah. And I mean, it wasn't obviously in China or Australia necessarily. Those things didn't come to you. It's probably not about the location necessarily as much as the type of place. And I think a lot of the, high class or more expensive hotels pattern themselves after what would have been manor house reception halls in a castle or a lord's estate, that kind of a thing. So that's it's very much the other way around. It's like we compare it like, if we go to one of those places and we look at it, like I went to Hearst Castle in California, which was the newspaper magnate Hearst from the 1920s or something like that. And his house was like you'd see buildings like that, again, France and Sweden and whatnot, like huge manor houses, and very opulent and raised ceilings with ornate stuff all over the place. It was fascinating to look through. Anyway, it's more important that it is the type of place you would find very successful people, very accomplished people. We were talking earlier about just that concept of validation of like, there are certain, there's an internet meme too. It's like, I might not tell anyone I hit the lottery, but there will be signs. And then it's like a picture of a Maserati or something, someone, or something else silly that's like absurd, but expensive. And that's, I think it's like, you're showing yourself, with a person of great accomplishment in an environment of similar people where there's all these representations of value, status, but it's not really about status. I think it's more about accomplishment. It's more about successfully doing something or doing something successful that to a high degree. And that's why we say high class or these different things, even though it isn't really about class. I mean, I think people dog on Elon because they're like, oh, he had a rich daddy, and it's like, well, no, he left South Africa with pretty much nothing and kind of went to school and then built a business, and maybe he got a loan, I don't know, but he wasn't really a trust fund kid, not like that. He actually built something almost from nothing, and certainly there's a lot of, say, trust fund kids who they do nothing with their money. They're like, I'm just set for life. What do you want from me? And it's like, Elon's like, I got to build stuff. So there's a natural, he represents, now I'm pulling a lot of this out of my head of like what Elon say might represent to me, but you can tell me, I mean, are these all things that you also have in the kind of thought bubble constellation around Elon?
Well, for me, Elon is the representative of like success, innovation, doing things that help humanity take huge leaps forward in where we develop, and also a very multidimensional person. He is good at a lot of things, and his businesses allow for a lot of people to have really interesting and fulfilling jobs. So he also creates opportunities for others, and he's doing things that are valuable for the planet and the environment as well, at least in the long run, and also to expand the awareness of humanity when it comes to space, when it comes to what else is possible. So he's constantly raising the bar, and that to me is it doesn't get better than that. It's truly like, if I would be at an event like that with a person of my choice, of course, and I could choose anybody in the world, I would choose to go with him. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Good. Those are all a fantastic explanation of what the symbol of Elon means, because like, you don't know him, I don't know him. We see his public persona, we see his public works. We don't even see what he's like behind the scenes in team meetings. Although I would be very surprised to learn that he was significantly different than he presented in the Joe Rogan interview. It's one of those things where it's like, I think he is what he is. And sometimes I bet he could be a scary boss if he's not happy, but not because it's like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. He seems like one of those guys. It's like, I expected better, I wanted you to do better, and you didn't, and you failed. And like that would probably be crushing coming from him. Like someone you really respect and you want to validate your experience and your efforts and to tell you a good job. And then probably it also shoots to the moon when he comes in and says, you did it better than I could have. Well, hot damn. That's amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Look at both of us, like, puffing him up. He's just a guy, but that's okay. Where everyone has their special talents, and he's got quite a few of them. We don't use the word polymath too much anymore. That's really what he is. He's a polymath. He's bringing so many different things together. I expect him to announce tomorrow, like, some new company that you would like. I never would have thought he would do that, but it came naturally out of this synthesis of all this other stuff he's analyzing. So, he's a fantastic representation, whether any of that is true or not. If you believe that's true, it would show up in your mind that way. And so, yes, these are all very good answers. There was a moment when you were describing it that you were present as yourself, but also a spectator. How would you break that down a little bit?
Yeah, it was the realization that, okay, suddenly I'm here. I don't know where I've been before. I don't know how I met him. I don't know what this event is all about, whose house it is or whose reception it is. I don't know what will happen after it. I'm just here in this moment. So that is what I mean by suddenly coming in as a spectator or as a onlooker, because I have had dreams long ago, or that I know what I'm up to. I know that I have a mission. I know that I have some task that I need to do or a plan. Here I didn't have any of that. I just suddenly arrived here. Bam. Here I am with him on this location, and let's see what happens. A little bit like that. So that's what I mean. But I wasn't looking from the outside and seeing myself. I was inside my own body and just as a first person.
Good. That's exactly what I wanted to separate out. Which did you mean? Because I have spoken to people where it's like, I was there as myself and watching myself third person, which may have its own kind of meaning. I would look at that as I think that tends to be like, here I am reflecting upon myself, as if seeing myself in a mirror, acting in a certain ways, watching my own actions. Sometimes it can mean I felt separated from myself, like it wasn't me, like I was not myself at this time, like in a literal way. This is not how I would behave. I'm watching myself do things I would never do, but I'm watching, helpless, so that it might indicate a lack of control. So many different ways. I can tell you all the things it's not, or sometimes I can if my brain goes there. Okay, so that's good. So it's you in a sense, what you're describing is a lack of context. I mean, you don't know what you did to deserve to be there. And it's like, does that make sense? Am I coming from the right place?
Almost. I don't know what led up to us being there, but it felt completely natural for me to be there. When it came to my connection to this location and this event, it felt natural. It felt obvious that I am here. Of course I'm here. And it felt as obvious and natural to be there with Elon Musk, and everybody else mirrored that same obviousness and naturalness of us being there, of me being there, but also of us being there.
Gotcha.
So it was, I'm at the right place with the right person and at the right time, and everybody sees it this way.
Gotcha.
Everybody,
and
me, him, and everybody.
And as far as you could tell, at that moment, you also felt natural there. Like,
yes.
Yeah. So that's what you're saying. You felt natural, and they reflected that by treating you like you belong there as well. So what did I mean by you don't know what you? A lot of times you'd say, I don't know what I did to deserve a girl like you. That's a guy would say that, and it's like, and sometimes what he's saying is, I'm dating outside my range. Like I got a girl better than I deserve. So there's the deserving type of thing there. But there's also, the way I kind of meant it, the shade of meaning was more like, you literally don't know what accomplishments you've had in life that brought you to the point where Elon Musk would say you are an equal. You can be on my arm at an event full of other accomplished people. And I think that's reflected in the idea of, I don't know what happened before. But whatever it is, I know that it was something good enough to not make me feel like a pretender in this space. So
there was no imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome at all. None at all. I didn't even have the thoughts formulated in that way, deserving or having to prove anything or accomplishing anything. I was in the sense of right place, right time, right people. And it's natural. And everybody agrees on this. There is no questions about that. That's the feeling that I remember so well. That was really the feeling.
And what else we got on the notes here? And from what you describe, okay, so what I wrote down, you can always clarify, good food, amazing conversation, and I wrote down evening time as well. That's sometimes the time of day matters. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes day-night cycles matter. This one, when do these events typically happen? Evening time.
This was more an evening type of event. Yes.
Yeah, so that may not be very significant. I just wrote it down to make sure I didn't overlook it just in case, but I don't think there's anything too significant in there. So you were very much enjoying yourself and everything felt natural. Natural is not the right word. Everything was, you were having a good time in a place you felt like you belonged with other people who validated or reflected that back to you in their behavior. Great food, great anything stand out in terms of food and conversation? Any snippets?
Yes. I did not notice when I was in this first part of my dream that I was in fact drinking champagne. Well, I did maybe have like a crystal flute of champagne in my hand, but it was nothing I thought about. I didn't think about or notice consciously that I was sipping and sipping and sipping on this champagne and it was refilled or anything like that. That was only afterwards when I was looking at myself through this tablet that I noticed like, oh my God, that is too much. I can't handle that much. Mm-hmm. So then in the first part of the dream, I didn't consciously notice any wrong behavior from on my side. I thought that I was handling myself well. I didn't even think about how I handled myself. I just felt good and had fun. That was what I felt. But then these small shifts started happening with people making a distance, between themselves and me.
That was going to be
but it was only
question.
Later that I got those answers.
For sure. My question was going to be, does anything stand out about the first time you noticed Elon distancing himself or other people stepping away from you? How did that, or was it more the impression that they were and not specific incidents?
No, it was more suddenly a little slight shift in how I felt around them. A little bit of distance and maybe not as much warmth and yes, just a feeling, I would say. That right then and there, it was more of a feeling, like what is going on? What is happening? Why does it suddenly feel like I'm missing something? Everybody seems to understand what's going on, and which social cues am I not catching on? Like something like that, I would say.
I guess what I'm trying to ask, and it's hard to, because dreams don't always work this way. Like there isn't always an event, like a specific thing. It's just this, you get this after impression of the description. As the evening went on, I felt different in the environment. And the way I describe the difference is people kind of pulling back, withdrawing from me. Sometimes it's very vivid and clear of like, I walked up to the table and I tried to set my glass down and it fell onto the floor because I missed the edge of the table. Now, did any specific events happen like that?
I don't remember anything like that. No, it was more, yes, this feeling, and also not being able to place why suddenly this happened. It was like why are they suddenly closed off to me? What happened? Why is this like this? It was just a minute ago, it felt so great. What is going on?
Yeah.
And why am I not seeing what is going on?
For sure.
Something like that more.
What word or phrase? So sometimes I try and come up with this out of my own head, and I think I just had an epiphany today. I should start asking the guest more often to give me the phrasing or description of the concept instead of trying to pull it out of my own head, because you probably know it better than I do. I mean, the concept of self-awareness comes to mind, but how would you describe it, of like not being aware of your own behavior as it's happening? What's the conceptual term for that experience or description of that behavior where you're doing something and you don't realize it?
I would say that I, without noticing it, closed amazing opportunities for myself by not being in alignment with the opportunities that were right there, already there in my life, because I made a fool out of myself. What can I say? I made a fool out of myself, and the opportunity passed. I did not right then and there understand what I needed to do and not do to be able to keep things that way.
Gotcha. I don't know if I asked the question. I mean, good answer, and I made some notes too. So, I guess what I'm trying to think of is like the descriptive phrase where your the behavior you observed from yourself would be the definition.
Lack of self-awareness.
Yeah, I mean that's the best I could think of. Was self-awareness. Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know if you had a better word, and that just came to me. That idea of like, whoops, was not self-aware in that.
Self-sabotaging also, maybe.
I mean, if that comes to mind, sure.
But unconscious self-sabotaging, because it wasn't like I wanted to ruin the evening for myself or anything. It wasn't. I didn't even notice. That's the thing. I was so surprised later on when I was watching myself on the tablet.
Yeah.
That had happened. I did not intend for that to happen at all.
I think it's a very common human fear of like we can't account for the unknown because we don't know what it is. And we can try to make ourselves as prepared as possible to encounter the unknown. But if you get to a position where you can't or don't, for whatever reason, see yourself as clearly as you wish you could have in retrospect, that's the toughest thing, is like, oh, I had no idea at the time I was making such a huge mistake. Well, if you did, you wouldn't have made the mistake. If you knew it was a mistake, we can only recognize some of these things after the fact. I think that's the nature of all mistakes. It's like, God, if I'd only known better. Well, you kind of had to make the mistake to figure it out. Or you have a dream that tells you don't make that mistake. Sometimes that helps you figure it out. Which,
maybe.
Yeah, that's great too. It's like, very interesting things happening with this one. And we're just off the top of my head while we're at this point. It is interesting that you say, well, look, I have the skill. I know I'm going to succeed. I know I'm going to be as if walking in at the highest levels with the best people because I got what it takes. I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about screwing it up when I get there. I'm worried about not making the most of that opportunity, not following through with what could be something really great. I see you nodding and smiling a little bit. Am I onto something with your own understanding? Or
yeah, yes, absolutely.
Well, wonderful. Thank you. That's and I kind of, in some ways, I feel the same way, and I have a little bit more of detachment from it. Of like, I kind of just release things into the wild, and they do what they do, and some of them sink and some of them swim, and none of them are people or pets, so that's okay. It's just ideas. I just throw them out there.
Yes.
But I do want to be successful in my own way. Not too successful. That's the funny thing too, is like, I don't want to be Elon Musk famous. Never. That's thank you. No, I'm fine. I'm fine being a hermit. And with, just some people appreciate my work. 100 years from now, people find my dream books and republish them 200 years after they were originally written. That would be, but I'm never going to see that day. Like, that's how detached I am from results in some ways. I do my best. I'm happy with doing my best, and sometimes it works. Hey, that's great. Sometimes it doesn't. I'll try again tomorrow. So I'm kind of there too. But no, but I think we all we don't put effort into things unless we care about the results. Unless we care that it's a good product. If that innate talent and opportunity is being put to some kind of beneficial use. So it's after the fact. So there's a very real, what am I trying to say? Like, clear sequence of you actively self-assessing, actively reflecting.
Yes.
in this tablet. And it's very interesting also that you go to your mother, was it?
Yes.
And you're showing her now. How did that? What did you say about that? Next day, showing it.
Well,
to your
I think
mom,
it was something like, she asked me, "How was your evening yesterday?" And I was like, it was weird. First, it was so good, and then I don't know what happened. It just, I have no idea. It just sank. It just, I used these words. I don't remember exactly, like, to describe that something that started out really well became like bad in the end, and not like bad, because he was a complete gentleman about it. He never made me feel like I had screwed up. He didn't show it in any way, and or saying anything like, "You're embarrassing me," nothing like that. He just, walked me out to the limo taxi outside and like, "Hey, you have a good evening. Thank you for coming." Very polite, very gentlemanlike.
Yeah.
And I was just like, it still feels like I did something wrong. What did I do?
Yeah.
And yes, so that was what I said to my mom. Like, I have no idea what happened. Everything felt really great in the beginning, but in the end, it feels like, it didn't end so well. I don't know why. I don't know what happened. And let's have a look. And I took out this tablet and we just had a look.
Yeah.
And then I was actually looking at myself in third person, because I saw myself on the screen. So
definitely that very active observational process of literally looking at yourself on the screen. I love that's fantastic imagery too. Two things there. Number one, before I forget it, is like, you're not getting honest, genuine, immediate feedback from your date, from the people around you. No one's saying, for your own benefit, like, because they care. You could have had a woman just lean over to you and say, "Darling, maybe put down the drink for a while. I think you've had enough."
Yes, absolutely.
Like, want to drink some water? And your date didn't say it either. So you've got this representation of like people at high levels of accomplishment. They're honestly, in the real world, they're unlikely to take time out of their day to stop and correct other people at their level. They're just going to say, "That guy's not for me. I just, hey, nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong with the way he wants to do things. You want to be you want to be as drunk as you want. That's fine. I don't roll that way. I'm not going to get involved in that." And just politely distance.
Yes, they're not going to start like parenting someone. Like, maybe there are a lot of people who try to change someone to fit them as their date, as their partner in a relationship. And I think that high-level people, whether it's because they're rich or successful or just, spiritually evolved or anything, they know what they want. And if someone is not already as they want for their partner, they're not going to continue to see where that relationship will go. They will know that, no, they are different than someone who will be with me, fulfilling my life vision and living based on my values and so on. They will just politely keep going in their own directions. I love that interpretation. I hadn't actually thought about that.
Thank you. I mean, it's what I do. very interesting too. It's like, so yeah, you get invited to your friend invites you to another friend's party, and then you show up there, and this is just, say from my own personal experience, and you get a little too drunk and you act like a bit of an asshole, and you think you're hilarious, and you don't realize until the next day of like, wow, those people hated me. I was such a jerk. Why did I think I was funny? Why did I think they thought it was clever? And it's just horrible embarrassment. And then you don't get invited back to the next one. You just don't. They're just like, we're kind of done with you. We're not interested in a second chance. You were enough of a jerk. And that's a bit of a wake up call too. It's like, well, maybe I don't do that again. Maybe I don't drink that much. Yeah. Okay, so that was the first part of like this immediate feedback from this crowd is like they could have, but they're not caretaking you. They're just like, we got our own shit going on. At this level, we don't do that. Unless you're, let's say if Elon was your husband, you would expect him to go, we talked about this. Slow down. Yeah. And the reasons you gave is like, I don't know if it was, oh geez. See, we got two of them. I can't, you got to get off the papers. Oh my goodness. Come on. There was a way you said it. What was it? I was looking for the notes and then I forgot, and then the cat. And you don't know if you're drinking because of reasons. Embarrassment or anxiety. And what was the other one? Or just over celebrating.
So nervous. Yes, yeah, exactly. So not that I'm celebrating something specific, but just that I'm in a good mood and I'm relaxed and I completely have my guard down and I don't feel like I need to monitor myself so much because I'm just, happy and pleased with everything. I think that was one possible reason. And of course, this glass, maybe it felt filled. I mean, I didn't notice anybody pouring more into it, but it's like that sometimes with these events. They just, I did not actively go to a bar or anything like that. I just had this little champagne flute in my hand. That was it. So from somewhere, more champagne poured into this little glass. And yes, so I don't know. Maybe it was just being relaxed and happy, but it could also be the other reason that maybe I was just, knowingly more nervous than I thought I had been.
Sure.
And wanted to calm myself down or something.
Yeah, and a lot of times what happens with folks' understanding of their own dreams is in that moment or in the course of the dream, that idea didn't present itself necessarily. It's afterwards you look back going, why would I do that? Well, knowing myself as I do, sometimes I drink when I'm a little nervous because that's a little anxiety killer. Sure, just a little buzz and I'm not as nervous as I could just relax and kind of be present. And the other side of it is, you drop your guard. You overindulge in celebration because you think you're safe to do so. And what I wrote down was like a mistake due to inattention. There's one of those things of like, if I were reading the room better, if I were more aware of myself and monitoring my behavior, if I didn't let my guard down so much, if I didn't let it down all the way, then I would not maybe have made this mistake. So there's a lot of, okay, before I forget too, the other thing I was going to say is you brought the icon or representation of your mother in to be the consulting spirit in a way. This, because your mother wasn't in your dream, obviously it's your image of her. You bring her in as the one you engage in self-reflection with in that way. So you're very much, it seems to me, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but she set a good model for you, someone you would rely on for
yes, so absolutely.
Good advice.
We have a close relationship, and if I would tell anybody about an experience like this, my mom would be one of the first people I would speak with in real life as well. So that felt also as nothing that surprised me that it was her.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And the funny thing is, I was fully prepared for you to say, no, my mother was awful. She was everything I don't want to be. So I was very surprised in this, that she would show up in the stream. I'm like, honestly, same thing. if she gave you a good model that you respect, or if she gave you a bad model you reject, both create a standard. So I was ready for either answer, but that's good. Still good relationship with her. So she's someone that is not only a good role model, but also an active mentor that even still today you would go to for advice. So in your dream, you say, okay, wait a minute. I need to see myself better. I need to understand this situation more clearly. Let's bring in the spirit of mother in the dream to do as she does in real life and look at myself with her assistance. And then that's when you start noticing. So there's okay. So if the problem you're trying to figure out is how do I avoid making a mistake through inattention, I'm going to want to reference my mother's example. How does she do it, perhaps? And what she helps you identify in this dream is that the specific thing was overindulging for two potential reasons. Maybe I was too nervous, and maybe I was too joyful. Like there's two ways of what are those things have in common?
Maybe it's both.
Yeah,
maybe
could have been both.
Because feelings can be present simultaneously, even if they seem to be sort of not compatible, but they could be. I mean, it's possible to be both really happy to have an experience, but also nervous about it. So, yeah.
So an idea just came to mind of in movies and all kinds of different representations, but there's the person who thinks the fight is over, that they've already won, and they begin to celebrate, and then the opponent suddenly gets back up and takes them down because they celebrated too soon, in a way. I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but just that concept of and then the audience is like, oh, no, stop, it's not over. Like we see it coming and we want it to, don't do this, is horrible. Like we see it from the outside, but he's like, and he gets it again. Too celebrating too soon. I don't know if that resonates with you at all it
could, absolutely.
In this dream, or maybe not. I mean, it's okay, you can gut check on that one.
Yeah, I think it's very common, whether you call it celebrating too soon or stumbling on the finish line or something like that, that you think there is maybe a little less effort required to reach what you want than actually is required. That could be something. It could also be that once you arrive at that destination, that is not where you relax. That is when you take all of yourself up to the next level to, already focus on the next one, not just stopping there, but rather that is not a finish line. That is a new starting point. That is what you need to remember as well when you move through the levels of success and fulfillment. None of them is going to be a finish line. As soon as you start thinking in the terms of a finish line, you're going to regress.
Gotcha. And this is all good, I think. What am I trying to say? This is good conceptual framing that you had in your head before this dream happened, and now you're applying it retroactively to what this experience was. And another thing just struck me: the idea that the problem wasn't the alcohol. I mean, it very well could have been everyone thought you were funnier when you were drunk, and they had a hilariously wonderful time. It's specifically that you became incoherent and undignified. Those seem to be the two things that stood out to you. So you're looking at this like, coherence is you want to communicate well with people. You want to have a conversation with people. They can't find you charming or interesting or intelligent if they can't understand what the hell you're trying to say. So that applies to all different. It's not just party time. That's in life. It's at the grocery store. You want I would like, what 1 dozen eggs, please. They need to understand that coherently to get you what you need and to complete the transaction. So it's it's a wonderful thing of like, what is a situation where you become incoherent and undignified? Well, when we drink too much sometimes. That's perfect analogy. So you put yourself in a situation where you're like, but really, I think it was all of it was to get down to that idea of like, what do I do when, not if, when I hit the big time, I hit the high level, I'm producing and accomplishing to the maximum of my ability. What do I do? Do I stumble at the finish line? You're looking at that going, if I'm not attentive, if I'm not coherent, if I don't maintain a certain level of dignity in myself and my representation publicly, but mostly internally, I'm going to say this is it's definitely both. It's because you're getting this feedback from the high level people of, because you let these possible stumbling blocks take you down, you don't belong here. We're not going to invite you back. We're going to, you didn't go home with Elon. He put you in a cab. Good night. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I think you're, so in my estimation, this appears to be a dream of warning to maintain proper focus on how you already know to be successful. Is that kind of so now we talk about you. What do you think this was, and how did it come across to you? What message or what did I get right? What did I get wrong? What do you think?
Oh, I believe that everything is right, and I think the concept of not stumbling upon a finish line and not celebrating too soon are very, very much present here. I think that it's very easily done. Like it can be accidentally that maybe when you let's say I would get a book deal, right? I finish my book, I get a book deal, and then instead of stepping up to the next level of published author who is off to going to book signings and release events and so on, I would be like, well, now I can go to Spain on vacation and just totally blow it, I know that I would never do that. I know that I would step up and do what is needed. I have no idea why I would get a warning like this, because I think it's something about actually receiving a message from a higher knowing. Maybe it comes from you, from your own knowing, intuition, or a source outside of us that wishes us to succeed and be well. I don't know, but I am really wondering why I'm getting this message, if it is a warning.
So these things
because I am constantly stepping up. That's what I've been doing for many years. I am very conscious of the, not regressing and always elevating my level. I'm like, absolutely.
Well, one question I like to address with people, and sometimes there's an answer, sometimes there isn't, but did anything happen in the time before this dream, or was anything coming soon after this dream, other than talking to me? Like, that may be a reason as well, but like, what life events were around there where you might have been reminded, hey, this is a time not to blow it? Something like that. Did anything happen around that time that you can think of or point to?
No, nothing that I can think of. But I think just like, writing something that really matters to me and that I really believe in will bring great value to my readers, and also being so close to launching all of these, like my coaching program, my membership, all of these things. Of course, I'm putting a lot of pressure on having this be a success, and I don't know if it's going to be a success or not, but I know that I'm applying everything that I know, that I've learned, and like both principles and methodologies, to make it as successful as I can. So I know that what I'm doing, as long as I'm focusing on the right things, I'm doing the right things as well, or rather, I'm doing the things in the right way. So I think that I'm doing everything that I can to the best of my abilities to make this a success. Then I don't know what will happen. It's like you said, you can't be attached to the outcome because you've done everything you can. You've thought strategically and tactically to make it a success based on what you know. But then the reception that people will give it, the validation and appreciation and all of that, you can't control that. So that you just need to relax and let go and stay in the vibe of celebrating the process and enjoying everything you do around this process, not with this like contracted attitude of, oh, it has to be a success, otherwise I'm a failure. No, it has to be in the vibe of, wow, I'm so much enjoying that I get to be creative and put something into the world that I'm truly, I stand behind this 100%. I believe in this, and I just hope that it finds its way to the right people so that they can enjoy it too. So being in that vibe, I think, is much more important than the actual results.
Definitely,
because if you're not in that, if you get the results of having 1 million copies sold of your book, you're still not going to be able to enjoy it as much as you would selling 2 books, but being in the vibe of really enjoying it. So, yes, I'm not sure where I'm going with this. But
No, I get it. That reminded me of something like, there's a lot of lessons we get as kids that sometimes don't click until you get older. And there's like, what one of them is, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game. And then when you're a kid, it's like, but I want to win. Winning is winning. Losing is losing. I don't want to be a loser. What do you mean it doesn't matter? And what I think it's talking about is this type of being detached from the results. As long as you did your best, that's the most important thing. I didn't get that either for years and years and years, but it's like, you can't do better than your best, but it's not easy to do your best either. That's a struggle. That's an accomplishment all on its own to give something 100%. And then, hey, sometimes that's enough and sometimes it's not. And sometimes the result matters and it's very disappointing and sometimes it doesn't as much, and you can kind of let it go. I was like, well, darn it, that was unpleasant. I'm not going to do that again. So we learned something from doing it the wrong way,
Yeah, it's the answer lies in how you win or how you lose. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. If you win, but you win like an asshole, that victory is not worth so much. If you lose as an asshole, that is also not going to give you so many benefits. Yes. But if you win as your best self, or you lose as your best self, both are going to be extremely valuable experiences, both to yourself and probably to a lot of other people. And not only you. So, yes, it's how you approach these types of events in your life. Success, failure, whatever. And I think now that we're speaking, I think maybe one of the aspects of this message could be that I need to get more in touch with the vision after this vision. Like, okay, I know I want to become a published author. I want to publish my book. So I'm doing what I need to do that. From my standpoint, from what I see needs to be done. I need to write the book. I need to create an author platform, doing those things. And I need to start maybe already thinking a few steps ahead after that. Like, okay, let's say I have a book. It's published. It's appreciated by the readers I hope to reach. Who will I be then? And start to connect with that person already from where I'm now.
Yes,
so that
absolutely.
I'm not. Maybe that's part of.
I think it is.
Trying to secure not stumbling on the finish line.
Yeah, I think that's a brilliant analysis. If I want to be the kind of person who is welcome back at a high level, I need to already start thinking, what does that person look like, and what are the mistakes that would prevent me from maintaining or feeling a part of, or not just feeling a part of, but being. Like we can feel a thing, and then there's what the thing actually is. Not always the same. You can feel like you belong, but everyone was distancing themselves and you weren't aware of it. Okay, mistake. But like, yeah, so you're looking at, okay, well, what's the next step? What do high level people do? They think about the next step. They're already there, and if I want to be one of them, I got to think like them. I got to do what they do. I got to fit in at the party is the analogy. Dreams love analogies and puns. And so it could have started with this whole thing of like, oh, I don't want to hit a place in my life where I feel like I don't belong at the party. And then, a whole dream shows you a party. Well, who would be there? And where would it be? It would be Elon Musk and a bunch of really rich, successful people, more successful than rich, but still, they often go hand in hand. And what would it be like to make a mistake in that environment? What would that mistake look like, and how would I avoid that in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah, something hit you at that moment?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, so to be able to, maybe you need one success and you're going to show up on the radar of those people, but you also need to stay that kind of person who would get a second and a third and a fourth invite, not only one.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the whole answer here. Like, it's not about getting into that first party. That's going to happen to anybody who accomplishes something that gets attention and intrigue and creates value once. So that happens once, you're in, all right? And you need to stay relevant, you need to stay interesting and dignified and one of their people. You need to be one of my people to those people who you want to be with.
Yeah, definitely. You feel like we got a pretty good answer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
How, I'm just curious. So you had time to reflect on this, and you are reflective and insightful. Is there, I don't even know what the question I'm trying to, like, how much did I help? How much new material did I bring to it, or perspective? Was it like 80-20 or something?
I would actually say 50-50 probably.
Okay, nice.
Of course, I've been thinking about this, but it's so valuable to share it this way. And, I have said, I've told about this dream to 3 people already. So I'm including that also. Like, it's not only my reflection. I've even journaled this dream because I'm like, okay, this is so rare to me that I'm remembering a dream and a dream this interesting. So for me, it's been really interesting. And reflecting on it, journaling about it, talking with my mother and the friends about it. And still, this is extremely valuable.
Oh,
so, yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Well, I've been thinking about this kind of stuff for, probably my entire psychology career, just always fascinated with dreams, and then decided, about 5 years ago to I'm just going to be a wizard. Fuck it. Let's do this thing for real.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can develop this. And then 170 episodes later, and I'm here to be just a little helpful to you. I appreciate that opportunity.
Absolutely.
Well, if you don't have any additional questions, there's nothing about the dream you're like, we failed to address a particular puzzle.
I think it's we've gone through it thoroughly.
I think so too, yeah. But I always give people that opportunity. Oh, sorry, baby girl. Bonked her right in the head. And she's gonna lay out the papers. Go. Then, okay, by way of wrapping it up, I will say to everybody out there, this has been Malena Dalinaros from Stockholm, Sweden. Love talking to an international audience. She's an author and coach. You can find her at malenadalinaros.com, and that link will be in the description below. For my part, the outro stuff, this is probably where a lot of people just bail, but I'm going to do my own shilling. Would you kindly like, share, subscribe, tell your friends? Always need more volunteer dreamers. 17 works of historical dream literature. This week, focusing on book 1 of the Augury, Bibliomancy, and Chaos series. That's what I call the book series, ABC, the ABCs of dream interpretation. I think I'm clever. It is book 1, The Court of Curiosity. Going to flash that on the screen there. You can find that, of course, at benjaminthedreamwizard.com, including MP3 downloads of this very podcast. Also, if you'd head on over to benjaminthedreamwizard.locals.com, building a community there, free to join, attached to my Rumble account. You can give me money or not. You don't have to. That's fine. That is enough out of me. And I'll just say, Malena, thank you for being here. Always great to hear dreams, but very great talking to you too, because you brought so much focus and insight and expansion to the process too. I love that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a great opportunity for me to talk to somebody who I can really tell that you love doing this and that you are good at this, and you have been doing this for all of those years that you've been into psychology. So I got a lot of value from this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, and I appreciate that too. Someone whose opinion I respect telling me I'm hitting that high level. I appreciate it. That's very good. And last thing, everybody out there, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.